Last night, Apple had their Scary Fast event. There was a lot of speculation as to what was going to be presented. And right out of the gate, Tim Cook told us exactly what we were getting. They refreshed the iMac. Here, things look exactly the same. Same starting base price, same configuration. 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage. In terms of the CPU and GPU, I think that's also what it started at when it was just M1. But in my opinion, the iMac is something you shouldn't buy. Consider subscribing. I know it's iconic, and I know that, it looks cool. But for the price, I just don't think it's worth it. I think you should do one of two things. You should either buy a MacBook Air or you should buy a Mac Mini. Now, right now, I know that the MacBook Air nor the Mac Mini have been updated to M3, and this is why they do this. They stagger this stuff to make that purchasing decision just a little more difficult. But even with that being said, I still feel that buying the MacBook Air is a good idea. You get that same processing power. And again, I know that you'll either be buying an M2 or even if you decided to buy an M1 Air. So you're not getting exactly the same processing power, and Apple had their little fancy graphs. But what you do get is the portability. In addition to the portability, you get the option to connect your MacBook to whatever display you actually want. And I think that's the most invaluable part, is that as time goes on, you're able to continue using this as a display and get a new machine. And that's where the potential savings could happen, or if you're worried about the environment or anything of the sort, you don't have to replace the entire thing. Because right now, there probably are some people who have either older iMacs or even M1 iMacs, and they're like, oh, well, now I just want to replace the entire thing. Even though the screen, the speakers, the keyboard, the mouse, the trackpad, if that's what also comes, the power plug, all of those are still intact, but you can't just swap out the internal chip. So now you got to get the whole thing. Also, I said you could potentially buy a Mac Mini. And because the prices of these are so much lower, you could easily find a monitor of a particular spec for less than $700? So yeah, and then you get all the ports. And again, I know it's still M2 instead of M3. Even with the update to M3, I still think the iMac is a bad decision. In terms of port selection on the iMac, that has ports, yes. And as you can see here on the base model, you just get two USB 4/Thunderbolt ports. Cool. But if you go up, you get those two ports as well as two just regular USB 3 USB-C ports, but then you also get gigabit Ethernet, and I believe that's connected or integrated into the power brick, and your Magic Keyboard comes with Touch ID. And I really feel like they should have at least included that portion. Like, just make the Touch ID only keyboard. It's like when you get a MacBook, it only comes with Touch ID. There's no reason to make the Magic Keyboard without Touch ID. The other stuff that's up here, fine, limit that to the more expensive models. But like I said, instead of making a Magic Keyboard that doesn't have Touch ID, just include it. And as I've been talking about the MacBook Air and the Mac Mini and their prices, always remember that you have two additional options. You can always buy something new from somewhere else, and Best Buy is a great place to start looking. Frequently, their laptops are on sale. Right now, the M1 MacBook Air is on sale, and I would not recommend that anybody buy that today, but as you can see, it is on sale for $250 off. Scrolling down, we can see that the 15-inch MacBook Air is also on sale, and frequently the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air will be on sale, and it's a good thing. It really is. Apple's website, they're never on sale. But Best Buy, like I said, they are constantly on sale. And this week, we can just see what the sales are. Every Friday, I believe, is when the sales update. So if you're interested, come back to Best Buy's website on Friday and see exactly what is available.